Hello, dear learners. I'm Professor M. Masoom Raza from Department of Library Information Science, AMU Aligarh. So, yesterday we have seen, we have discussed acquisition section, and we have discussed the principles of book selection. We have discussed the tools of book selection, committees involved in the book selection, the process involved, records involved in the book selection and acquisition. So today we'll be covering the next section. The just connected section is technical section. Once in any library, when the acquisition process is formalized and records are updated and the document has been procured. So the next step is it moves to the technical section for technically processing the documents. Technically processing means the more important part is classification and cataloging, because ultimately these are the retrievable tools, and a due emphasis has to be given to these two processes, because ultimately these two processes will make things or documents or paper or anything or any piece of information retrievable. So to make it retrievable, we have to see that classification and cataloging that moves as per the prescribed steps, and if there is any problem with the classification and cataloging, probably will not be, or a user or the client will not be able to retrieve the right document at right time. So keeping that in mind, we have to be very specific. So let me tell you what this technical section is. We'll be covering the whole content under these heads. I'll just introduce what the technical section is. I'll let you know the needs of technical section, functions we will discuss, classification schemes we will discuss, and the purpose of library classification, what basically this classification is doing, and then tools which are being used for the classification, and then classification procedure, what the procedure any library has to follow. So basically the technical section of any library serves as a engine room, we call it engine room, where the intricate task of classification, cataloging and physical processing are carried out to transform acquisitions into accessible resources for library users. This section operates in alignment with carefully crafted classification schemes and cataloging codes, ensuring consistency and coherence in the organization of library materials. Additionally, it adheres to the library's classification and cataloging policies, which are tailored to suit local conditions and meet the specific needs of the library's user community. This section is also known as cataloging section or processing section. At the heart of technical processing, a workflow is the meticulous cataloging of each document, which involves assigning descriptive metadata and subject headings to facilitate discovery and retrieval. Concurrently, the classification assigns document to logical categories within the library's organizational structure, aiding in systematic arrangement and navigation of the collection. These tasks are undertaken with precision and attention to detail, ensuring that library materials are accurately described and effectively organized for easy access. And in tandem with cataloging and classification, the technical processing section undertakes physical processing activities such as affixing ownership mark and circulation control labels to documents. These measures not only establish the library's ownership of material but also facilitate efficient management of loan transactions and inventory control. Additionally, the section oversees the shelving and filing of library materials, ensuring that items are stored and arranged in accordance with established procedures and accessibility principles. So overall, this technical processing section serves as a vital link in the journey of library materials from acquisition to circulation. By carrying out essential technical tasks with professionalism and expertise, this section plays a pivotal role in ensuring the smooth operation of the library and the seamless delivery of information resources to its user. So, what is the need of a technical section that we'll try to study here? The technical processing of library material is crucial for ensuring that these materials can be effectively organized, accessed, and utilized by patrons. The need for technical processing arises from several factors. Those factors have been listed here. The first is the tremendous growth of information. With the exponential increase in the production of library material, ranging from books to multimedia resources, there is a pressing need to efficiently manage and organize this vast amount of information. Next, necessity of categorization. Technical processing helps in categorizing the universe of knowledge into manageable segments, making it easier for library staff and patrons to locate relevant materials within specific subject areas. Third, again important thing is maintaining subject specialization. By systematically arranging information according to subject matter, technical processing ensures that subject specialization is maintained, allowing patrons to delve deeply into their areas of interest. Another importance of technical section is it facilitates storage and retrieval. Systematic arrangement of documents through technical processing facilitates easy storage and retrieval of material, enabling efficient use of library resources. And the next, again, the important need of a technical section is meeting users' need. Ultimately, the primary goal of technical processing is to satisfy the needs of library users by providing them with organized and accessible collections that align with their information requirements. And now we'll discuss the functions of technical section. And in the functions of technical section, we will be discussing the classification and cataloging. So, what the classification basically means. And so you can say this is technical section is basically the heart of your library, because ultimately this section basically is only responsible for organizing things properly. If this section works properly, things are more organized, retrieval is quite quick, and discovery is efficient. And when discovery and retrieval is quick and efficient, clientele, they enjoy the services of any other services of the library. So classification, the term, when we look into the root word, the classification tracing its root to the Latin word, that is classis, which connotes grouping. Library classification is the systematic arrangement of books, documents, and other resources within a library's collection to facilitate efficient organization, retrieval, and access to information. It serves as the backbone of library's cataloging, providing a structured framework that categorizes diverse subjects and topics, enabling users to navigate through the library's holding with ease. Basically, the primary goal of library classification is to group related materials together based on their subject matter, thereby creating a logical grouping that reflect the organization of knowledge. This allows librarians to maintain order within the collection and helps patrons locate relevant resources quickly and efficiently. So classification system typically assign unique codes or identifiers to each item in the collection, such as call numbers or shelf marks based on the predefined categories or classes. These codes are often hierarchical, with broader categories subdivided into more specific subcategories, allowing for a hierarchical organization of materials. So, coming to whenever a library is planning to go with the classification, a library has to choose only one scheme of classification out of many schemes of classification available. So there's the schemes, different schemes of classification available. There are prominent schemes, you can say. Prominent schemes available for the classification is one, Davis decimal classification scheme, expansive classification, universal decimal classification, then Library of Congress classification, then we have subject classification, then Colin classification by Dr. S. R. Ranganathan, and then bibliographic classification. We have so many schemes of classification, but any library just before technical processing of any document or as a matter of policy should decide which scheme, particular scheme of classification they are going to follow, which code of cataloging they are going to follow, and what they will be using, what instrument they will be using, or what tool they will be using for standardizing the subject headings, whether they are going by the CS list or they are going by the LCA list. So whatever they have to decide, it should be a matter of policy that any one scheme, one code, and one tool for standardizing subject headings that should be used for any library. But just for your information's sake, I'll be discussing very briefly all these schemes. So let's start with the Davis decimal classification. And as you know, this scheme is really widely used and influential knowledge organization tool. First conceptualized by Melville Dewey in 1873 and officially published in 1876. And OCLC, there's an online computer library center in corporation that currently maintains and publishes the DDC system. And the next scheme, which is not as popular as DDC, but for grouping the subjects equally good, expansive classification. The Cutter expansive classification scheme is a classification scheme devised by Charles M. E. Cutter, and it uses all letters to designate the top categories of books, and it was developed in 1891. And the third, again, most prominent scheme of classification, that is universal decimal classification, and is again the most widely used classification system globally, and it encompasses a wide range of fields of knowledge. It is utilized not only in the libraries but also in bibliographic, documentation, and information services across more than 130 countries worldwide. It's quite popular scheme of classification, and additionally, the additional advantage of UDC is it is published in over 40 languages. So this is the thing which is making it really most widely being used, probably for this reason that it is published in so many languages. And the next scheme of classification, that is the Library of Congress classification. And the Library of Congress, LCC, is a widely used again classification system that originated in the late 19th and the early 20th century as a means of organizing vast book collection of the Library of Congress and the National Library, that is the National Library of the United States. So another scheme of classification is subject classification. Subject classification scheme developed by James Duff Brown in 1906 is indeed founded on the principles that every science and art originate from a specific source. This classification system is based on the idea that knowledge can be organized hierarchically with broader subject branching out into the more specific topics or disciplines. And the next, Colin classification. This is, as all of you know, this was very prominent at one point of time, and but still DRTC was supposed to work on it, and they have come out with a not recently, but the last edition which is available in the market, that is 7th edition, and this is abbreviated as CC and developed by S.R. Ranganathan. The first edition of Colin classification was published in 1933, marking a significant advancement in the library classification method. And over the years, 6 more editions were released reflecting Ranganathan's ongoing refinement and development of the system. It was having its certain limitations, because of which it could not incorporate most of the new subjects. So most of the libraries, those who were already following it also, they have switched to some other scheme of classification. And the next scheme of classification, that is bibliographic classification. This is a Bliss classification. Bibliographic classification. The Bliss classification is a bibliographic system created by Henry Evelyn Bliss, an American librarian associated with the College of City of New York. The classification system was published in 1935 under the title A System of Bibliographic Classification. Now we'll discuss the purpose of library classification. What is the basic purpose of library classification? So these are the important purposes that I've listed here. So it has several purposes. One by one we will take up. One is most prominent, one is facilitating use. The primary purpose of library classification is to make reading materials readily accessible to users. By arranging materials in a systematic and logical order based on subject matter, classification systems help users easily locate and retrieve relevant resources from the library's shelf. Second most important purpose of library classification is accommodating new acquisitions. Classification allows for the seamless integration of the newly acquired materials into the library's collection, and by providing a structured arrangement of classes or categories, classification systems ensure that there is a space available to shelf new material in their appropriate location. Third most important purpose is organization. Classification enables library staff to organize materials in a manner that is helpful both to users and to library's operational workflow. By categorizing materials into distinct classes or categories, classification systems provide a structured framework for arranging the collection. Next important purpose is replacement and maintenance. Classification system facilitates the replacement of materials on the shelves after use by patrons. By providing a consistent order for shelving materials, classification helps ensure that items are returned to their proper places, maintaining the integrity of the collection. Another important purpose is weeding of inventory. So library classification aids in the removal of unwanted or outdated materials from the shelves. By systematically organizing materials, classification system makes it easier for the librarians to identify items that may need to be removed from the collection. That is called weeding out due to the damage, low use or obsolescence. And one more important purpose is catalog integration. So classification system provides a link between the physical arrangement of materials on the shelves and the library catalog. By assigning each document an individual class number, classification enables users to locate materials based on the information provided in the library catalog. Next, we'll be discussing the tools for classification. So the schedules of the classification scheme used in the library are considered as the tools for classification, and these schedules provide a systematic arrangement of subjects and guides classifiers in assigning the appropriate class number to books. So some of the tools are American Book Publishing Record, a publication that records information about the newly published books in the United States. It helps classifiers stay updated on recent publications and their classification. Then Indian National Bibliography, abbreviated as INB, which can serve as a reference for classifiers to ensure uniform class numbers for Indian publications. Similarly, we have British National Bibliography. This is just similar to INB but focus on the publications of UK. Then Library of Congress Catalogue, a catalogue maintained by the Library of Congress containing bibliographic records for a wide range of publications, and it serves as a valuable reference for classifiers due to the expertise of Library of Congress classifiers. And one more tool, that is National Union Catalog, a comprehensive catalog that provides bibliographic information on books held by libraries across the United States. It allows classifiers to access a vast collection of records for classification purposes. Then we'll take up the classification procedures. So the classification procedure, you can see these are the steps of classification, and whenever a new document comes to the technical section, so definitely it has to go by certain process. So these are the 7 steps which the classification process is complete. So again, the first thing is, before acquiring books also, normally we go for duplicate checking, just to check that probably the similar book is not available, same book is not available in our inventory, and after cross checking only we place the order. And again, we will do the same thing here also. We'll go for the duplicate checking. Again, the logic here is, or the reason for this duplicate checking is just to check it. Probably we might be having this document, we might have already classified, so unnecessarily we'll be wasting our manpower, time and energy in reclassifying it again and again. So it's better to check it if you have a duplicate record. So in that case, the same class number, probably edition must come, quite probable that you must have procured a new edition of it. So new, if you have, maybe you have the older edition and you have recently bought the new edition. So in that case, the same class number can follow. So just for that matter, we go for the duplicate checking. Normally in the large libraries, the process of duplicate checking is typically delegated to the order section. So which helps streamline the classification workflow. All the books are initially divided into 2 main categories, that is fiction and non-fiction, and within each group or subjects, books are arranged alphabetically by author's name. This arrangement facilitates sufficient scanning and comparison of similar titles authored by the same individuals. So the book selected for the classification are then cross-checked again, cross-checked basically against the library's public holding or the public catalog, and if any official catalog is not maintained, alternative method may be employed to verify the availability of each book, and normally the library assistant in the charge of the duplicate checking verifies each book against its main entry or the author entry in the catalog, and if multiple title cards for the same authors are found, further scrutiny is applied for examining the edition and year of publication. So this is how we can save our effort, manpower, energy and time. Number 2, if after scrutiny, after duplicate checking, it is found that the document is completely new, then we should proceed with the step 2. So the step 2 is determining the specific subject. So determining the specific subject becomes important when you find that the document is totally new. Then we have to undergo with this process. So describing a process for determining the specific subject of the book when their information is not readily available in the catalog, the classifiers go through various parts of the book to identify the specific subject. What are those parts? Title. Title, as you know, title of the book is checked for the information about the specific subject. Then if the document is having some subtitle, then it is to be examined for additional details on the subject. And third most important is foreword or preface. So these sections may provide insight basically into the subject matter and the context of the book. And then again, important thing is table of content. The chapter titles and the organization can give a structured overview of the book's content. Then try to see the jacket flaps also. Every book is having a jacket flap, so try to get some information from the jacket flap also. Information on the flaps of the book jacket may offer a summary or key details about the subject. Then thought content, basically the actual content of the book is examined to understand the main idea and subject matter. And then the reviews. If somebody has written reviews about the book, so definitely the classifier should go through the reviews. So reviews can provide the external perspective on the book's subject and content. So this is a process which needs to be completed to understand the subject only. Then the third step is, after understanding the subject, the classifier can assign the class number. The process of assigning the class number to the book after determining their specific subject. Once the specific subject of each book is determined, classification schedule and other aids are utilized to assign proper class number. So it's as simple as that. We have seen the tools, we have seen the classification schemes, we know about all these things. So once the subject is clear, subject matter is clear, content is clear, after going through all those process, then straight away what the classifier can do is, straight away he can pick up the tool, he can pick up the scheme and start taking the help of these tools to just assign a class number to the document. So basically this aids may include indexes attached to the classification schedule. For analytico-syntactic schemes, subjects are broken down into various parts, and formulas for constructing class numbers are used to arrive at the exact class number. So basically each library should decide whether to use close or broad classification. The assigned class numbers are written in the pencil on the upper half portion of the verso, that is back of the title page. Using pencil allows for easy correction or revision of the class numbers in case of future changes without damaging the book. Because normally the junior classifier is given the task to classify or assign class number to the document. Later on it is checked by the chief classifier. So what the junior classifier is supposed to do is just assign the class number, write with the pencil on the verso side of the title page, and later on when the chief classifier will go through it, so if he feels that it needs to be rectified, so it can be easily rectified. The fourth important step here is assigning book number. So because together these class number and book number together, if they are called as call numbers. So it's basically the process of giving a call number. So half part is done and the second part is assigning the book number. Again, for assigning the book number, you have many author tables. So your library, as a matter of policy, your library should decide which author table you are going to consult, because that is an important area where every document will be having the book number. So it becomes imperative here to choose any one author table which will be used consistently and just to maintain the uniformity in your class numbers, or for that matter for the organization of books. So we have many author tables. I'll just give few names and I'll just let you know little about the author tables. One most prominent one is Cutter author table that was developed by Charles Sammy Cutter, and this system assigns alphanumeric codes based on the author's last name, allowing for alphabetical arrangement within each class. And the second, we have Cutter-Sanborn author table. This is an extension of Cutter's system, incorporating additional rules and modifications for more precise arrangement of author's name. Third, we have Merrill's author table, another variation that is of the Cutter's system, developed by William Stetson Merrill, which offers further refinement for author arrangement. Then we have author table of L. Stanley. So L. Stanley devised his own author table and likely with the specific adaptations or modifications to suit the needs of a particular library or collection. Then we have Bisquet time numbers. This system assigns numeric codes based on the time period or chronology of the subject matter, allowing for chronological arrangement within each class. And then we have Dr. S.R. Ranganathan's book number system also. It was developed by Dr. S.R. Ranganathan, a prominent Indian librarian. And this system assigns alphanumeric codes based on the subject of the book, employing facets to represent different aspects of the subject. I'll just give you a few examples. So Cutter's Handbound table, just suppose if somebody is using some libraries using Cutter's Handbound table for author marks. So I'll give you one example. Just suppose a book is here, An Introduction to Library Classification by W.E. Berwick, CS. So basically what the book number will be here is S274I, because the title of the document is Introduction to Library Classification, and it has been authored by W.E. Berwick, CS. So just I'll segregate it now. S basically represents here the first letter of the author's surname. So Sears is a surname, so it is the first letter is S. So this is how the S comes. And then 274 is a number from the Cutter's Handbound table for representing Sears. So S274, and the last part is I. I represent the first letter of the first word of the title of the document. Title of the document is An Introduction. So, and normally these articles are avoided, and introduction means I is the first letter of the first word of the title. So this is how the I comes. So for the document An Introduction to Library Classification by W.E. Berwick, CS. So the book number becomes S274, where 274 is the author number according to Cutter's Handbound table, and stands for introduction. This is how the book number is constructed. Similarly, for the Kolin classification, if you see, the numbers are constructed with the help of Kolin classification also, and this is in contrast to the author-based system like the Cutter. The Kolin classification basically assigns the book number based on various elements such as language, form, year of publication, accession, part number, volume number, supplement number, and copy number. However, for general books, the year of publication alone is sufficient. For example, just one example I'll take. The book published in 1933, and it is Kolin classification. So N stands here. So the book number is N:33. N stands for 1900, and representing the century, and 33 represents the actual number. If any document published in just suppose a book was published in 1933, so it will be simply represented by N:33. Where N represents the century and 33 represents the actual year number. So this is how the Kolin classification is used for assigning the book number.